Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, last night I got a question. And then, when I first read it, I was like, how does anybody not know this? And then I thought about it. And I'm like, if you were never in that community, how would you know? And the question was, why is it bad for the U.S. military to help these countries and the militaries of these countries in Central and South America in regards to the war on drugs? Well, the first reason, and I think the reason most people know, is that a lot of these governments are very bad. And the military is the tool that is used to oppress people. But there are a couple other reasons that I realized people may not know. In the United States, if you're a counterterrorist, for example, you are trained in terrorism. You're a terrorist. And I don't mean that in a hyperbolic sense of, oh, the U.S. military is a terrorist organization. I mean that in the sense of you are trained on the theories and strategies and tactics used. You can run a terrorist campaign, should you choose. It's kind of that, to kill a lion, you got to think like a lion type of thing. Counter narcotics works the same way. So what happens is one of these countries says, hey, we want your help. And we send 7th Group down to train them. And they get down there and they train them. And then there's this soldier or this cop, whatever, who is a counter narcotics expert. He understands how it all works. He's got it. He understands the counter narcotics side of it, and he understands the narcotics trade. Then what happens? I think most people in the U.S. know that military training is very expensive, and those in the private sector will pay handsomely for it. I know a sergeant who just left. He was making about $40K a year, and now he's making about 206 months. And that's legal work. Completely legal, approved, everything. 5 times as much. Imagine how much you would make if it was illegal. So let's go back to that country, that soldier or cop. He has that skill set. And who wants it? The cartels. They want to know what he knows, because once they have that information, they can find a way around it. They can find a way to counter it, counter narcotics. We treat the cartels like a criminal enterprise. They're not. They're a paramilitary organization in the way they're structured. They have intelligence and counterintelligence guys. And they go out and they find these guys, and they recruit them. And down there, they have the carrot and the stick. You can come to work for us, and we'll pay you a whole lot more. And if you don't, we're going to kill your family. In a lot of these countries, the line between the cartel and the government doesn't exist. It's hard to tell where one ends and the next begins. Cartels control the judges, the cops. Why wouldn't he do it? He'd be stupid not to. So he joins. He starts working with the cartels. Now, the cartels have all of that information, and they disseminate it. This is why the war on drugs keeps getting more and more and more expensive, because we have to keep coming up with new tactics and new technologies to counter the stuff that we trained that was given away. If you go back to that whistleblower video, means and methods, that's what's important to protect. When you're talking about secrets, how you do things is what's important, not what you did. So the cartels get all of that information, and we've wasted it. We've wasted the training, we've wasted all of that money, and it has done no good. This is why nothing's changed. We're 40 or 50 years into the drug war, and the plants have won. Then another reason that providing this kind of assistance, especially the more clandestine kind, the type that isn't done by the Army but is done by intelligence agencies, isn't a good idea, is because a lot of times I mean, I can think of more than one instance where we ran dope for them. Our assistance is not always good for the people of these countries. It's good for the geopolitical situation for the U.S. And then if you ever doubt how misused that training becomes, never forget MS-13, the feared MS-13, became MS-13 when a guy we trained took over. He was trained by the School of Americas, called something else now. But that's why they have the attitude that they have, and they have that unit integrity. Seems very military-esque. Why? Because it is. The war on drugs is a failure. The plants have won. It's time to maybe look at it from a different perspective and start thinking of harm reduction and treatment rather than war and incarceration, because we got beat by the plants. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.